One summer day, Paul dropped by a festival to hear a band called the Quarrymen. Started by John, the Quarrymen played rock and roll music and jazzy tunes called skiffle. Hi fans of high quality entertainment, apologies for that, I was just reading a novel. So I've listened to the Beatles 1962, 1966, and the Beatles 1967, 1970, the new remixes. Probably twice on Spotify, and then on the CD, the actual CDs, I've listened to them 3 times, maybe 4 times. And I actually was starting to make a list of each song and what I thought of each song, and then it would be like a 2-hour movie. You don't need that. You don't need a 2-hour Canadian Studmuffin movie. Trust me. So what I will do is I'll go through some of the songs on the Red album and just give you my overall thoughts. Overall, I love the remixes. When I was making the list for each of the songs, almost every song mentioned Ringo's drums being higher up in the mix. Ringo rocks, you can really hear his fills a lot clearer than you could in the past. I would say that the biggest standout for me, at least for the Red album, is Ringo's drumming. Ringo is a star. He's always been, I'm not saying he's the best drummer in the world, but he was the best drummer for the Beatles. And he is my favorite drummer of all time. I know some people have kind of complained about the remix for She Loves You. I actually like it. It is a little maybe a touch distorted or muffled or whatever, but overall it's finally in stereo and it sounds great. The vocals are much clearer, they're really brought up in the mix, and I love it when John and Paul are singing together. You can really separate the vocals a lot more now. I think what really stands out for me the most are the Rubber Soul remixes, because of the acoustic quality of a lot of the songs. And Yesterday is just gorgeous. The way the strings are now, they're not just centered, they're on both, the left and right side. I listen to these on headphones for the most part. And there's just so much space, and everything is so clear. Paul McCartney, he's such an underrated singer for his whole, especially with the Beatles. He doesn't over-sing like some singers love to do. He just sings the song, and he sings it superbly. Ticket to Ride, the drums, once again by Ringo, really more up front, more muscular. Day Tripper is awesome. Norwegian Wood, sometimes like the sitar is still in the one speaker. I like how they didn't change everything, they stick everything in the middle. There are times on some songs where Ringo's drums are more on the left or the right side, but once everything's filled up, it sounds great. It doesn't sound awkward like some of the earlier stereo remixes did. And I've read, people complaining. It's bound to happen. Some are complaining. I do understand about Rain not being on this. I totally get that. I wish it had been also, but the one thing I've noticed is some people say it should have been on, their greatest hits or whatever. This isn't a greatest hits compilation. It's just a compilation of their whole career. And they've chosen songs from their career. And they've also chosen, this time, some cover songs like Roll Over Beethoven, You Really Got a Hold on Me. And I'm glad they did, because starting out, the Beatles were doing a lot of cover versions. So it's part of their DNA. And, some people even say that's not a Beatles song, it's a cover. Well, when the Beatles are recording it and it's put on a Beatles album, it is a Beatles song, even if it's a cover version. Don't get me started. Yeah, In My Life is just beautiful. Michelle, really crisp, when you hear the acoustic guitars on certain tracks. And I Love Her. I'm trying to think of anything negative to say on the Red. Yeah, I would just say Rain Missing is kind of, it is a pretty big omission, but besides that, I'm very happy with the Red album. So the Blue album, of course, not a lot, but quite a few of the remixes I've already heard in the past from all of the other Beatles box sets. But I've still listened to everything together. And I've noticed there's some songs like Tomorrow Never Knows. I don't know, it's because, I don't know if they might have touched them up a little bit more for these also, but they sound great. I love Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band with the guitar more up front. A Day in the Life with the, it doesn't fade out from the reprise this time. It starts with that acoustic guitar, which is really nice to hear. Some people weren't happy with the remix of Revolution. I loved it. Maybe it's a little different for people that listen with speakers or with a high-end stereo system. I just have my CD player and my headphones. I'm not a expert, but what I hear is what I hear, and it sounds great to me. So yeah, I'm very happy with Revolution, and The Fool on the Hill is great. I mentioned this before, but the intro to Magical Mystery Tour, when they do that little intro, it is kind of buried in the mix. That's the one thing I wish it was brought up a little bit more. But otherwise, Magical Mystery Tour, you can hear extra guitars and all that, and it rocks. I love it. Hey Bulldog, excellent. And people ask, well, what do you think is missing from this? It's like, well, there's nothing missing. It is what it is. But I was a bit surprised that Helter Skelter isn't on this, and Glass Onion is. Not that I don't love Glass Onion, but it would have been nice to have Helter Skelter on this too, along with Rain. Now, a couple of negatives. The one big negative for me, and I've heard it from other people too, is Old Brown Shoe. I was really expecting that to really show Ringo's drumming on it, because I remember listening to the 2009 remix, and Ringo's drumming is on it. And on this, it seems a little not as upfront as I wish it would have been. And then Paul's bass is a bit too loud. I think it actually is at George, I should have checked again, but I believe it might be George Harrison playing the bass. He's mentioned that before. But whoever's playing the bass is doing a great job. The only thing is, it seems a bit overpowering in the remix. But I don't hate the remix either. It's still a great song. It's one of my favorite George Harrison songs. And the biggie that a lot of people don't care for, or they think Giles Martin has ruined the remix, is I Am the Walrus. And so, I was reading up on it, the negative comments. So I was ready when I had this, and I listened to it first on Spotify. So I was ready to be disappointed. And I wasn't. At least on headphones. Especially the second half, when it goes into this kind of mono. It's almost like being sucked into a tunnel or something. It's just so cool sounding on headphones. And I do get the point that, there's certain things that seem to be missing, and there's other things that have been brought up in the remix that we never heard before. But I think just give it a chance, because I think it is an amazing remix of I Am the Walrus. I love it. So I have no complaints. And also, once again, some love it, some don't love it. Now and then, the way it ends this Blue album is just perfect. I've even read people saying it doesn't even fit with the rest of the music, but I feel it does. And it's a nice way to end the album. But it's just my opinion. So overall, I am so happy with these remixes. Just trying to think of anything else negative to say, and there really isn't that anything negative. Yeah, I wanted to mention, there's some songs like Yesterday, I guess they've been overplayed through the years, and some people kind of scoff at Yesterday these days, or, oh, I'm so tired of that song. And the same with Hey Jude. But when you really listen to a song like Yesterday or Hey Jude, and that last half of Hey Jude where Paul's just screaming and going crazy, you just have to think, back in 1968, that was on the radio with that really long fade out. And Paul just going crazy with his vocals and just killing it on the vocals. And I just have a new respect for songs like Yesterday and Hey Jude. Just listening to this with everything remixed. And, Within You Without You is just fantastic. All You Need Is Love. Not one of my favorite Beatles songs, but listening to all of this, it's like, the Beatles, they're the greatest. Yeah, that's about it. Like I said, thumbs up for the Red and the Blue albums, remixed. I think Giles Martin did a superb job overall. And if you don't like these remixes, that's okay. Go listen to the 2009 remix, the remasters, or whatever else. It's all out there. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.